is hilarious.
What's up, peeps? We're getting a good laugh here because we thought we were live, folks, and we have been talking behind the scenes for about
We
4 or
haven't
5
been live
minutes.
this whole time.
We had a good little dialogue. Hey guys, I'm sorry that you guys missed it. The show's over now, but
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah, we already went through the whole thing. We got through the whole topics and everything. Wow.
James, look, man, I saw your comment over under 7-11. Look, it wasn't our fault the first time. All right, it was not our fault the first time. We logged
Or
in
the
and it was
second time.
initializing circle of death. It was crazy. But
What's
hey,
hilarious is that I'm like literally on here right now and it's still showing me that we're not live yet.
are you serious? Oh, there we go.
Well, we
We
got
got live
comments,
comments
so
now.
thankfully.
There we go.
We're getting
There we
comments
go.
in.
I'm telling you, the
Oh, so-
NCAA is trying to hold us down.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, we're going to talk about super leagues, man. And so,
Hate our
look,
kind.
man, yeah, look, it's the NCAA. They don't like us right now because we're about to get all in that gravy today. But, folks, man, look, like, comment, subscribe, share to this channel. Wipe your feet before you come in my damn house, man. Hit that like button, folks. You guys have been with us for about 7-8 months now. So please go and subscribe to the channel. This is going to be very live, especially during the SEC season this year, man. I cannot wait till season starts. We're going to have a lot to talk about. But sorry, folks, that we couldn't get to you guys over the last 3 weeks. Steven and Jay were doing their thing in Vegas, with their jobs, quote unquote, working. I saw Jay on Twitter in front of a bunch of screens. Looks like he was maybe throwing a few dollars at some games.
Working
or
hard.
something. He was working hard.
Working hard and lost a lot of money. So yes, I did
Yeah.
definitely worked very hard. It was very terrible.
Exactly. I was out of country for a couple weeks, Thailand and also the Philippines, doing Air Force stuff. I was working hard, folks. I promise you I was working hard and shopping a lot too as well. So, and Chris is always late. So we don't know when Chris is coming in, but he'll probably be around here about 7:20-ish because that's how Chris rolls. And he won't be late because that's how Chris rolls. And Ty, he just holds it down all the time. You're going to catch Ty streaming every day of the week, everywhere, because he's that guy.
Unfortunately, I am everywhere right now, yeah.
Fellas, how's it going, man? What's going on?
Happy to be back, guys. Happy for the family therapy session. It's been too long.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So look, we got some good comments coming in right now. It's Larry Hillman. Hey, Nino, and everybody, what's going on? Steven. Oh, yeah, Steven. Here you go. Chat is not open. There we go, Steven. Yep, that's my dude. Texas, baby, from Nate. Derek Wisner. If you guys know who Derek Wisner is, that's Trey Wisner's uncle, if I'm not mistaken. Trey Wisner
That's
is
awesome.
the running back at Texas. And Derek's been a fan of
Nice.
pretty much all of our channels here for a while. And he's really good on the comments, man. And Trey's going to be a bad boy this year, man. He was starting to unleash himself on special teams last year. I'm not going to get into that Texas talk. It's going to piss off Jay a little bit, but we're going to talk about them Texas
Oh, you
boys,
know I
man.
don't hurt my
We're gonna talk
feelings,
about them
man. I'm a
Texas
football
boys,
fan.
man.
Trey is
Let's
going
go.
to be a beast. No doubt about that. No doubt about
Let's
that.
go, baby. You know I'm a football fan. I love it.
Oh, man. But look here, man. Today, it's going to be about them super leagues, man. We're going to talk about the comments that just surfaced up today. We're going to talk about the super leagues and just what does that mean for college football. Let me share something on my screen here, folks. Let's take a look at. Ooh, get out of there. Bam. There's a comment here. It says that the current CST, which stands for what, guys? But the Super Team League, a college super team outline.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to create a system that would have up to 70 programs, all members of the 5 former major conferences, plus Notre Dame and new ACC member SMU as permanent members and encompass all 130 plus FBS universities. The members will be in a 10-team division, joined by an 8th division of teams that will be promoted from the second tier. The 50-plus second division teams would have the opportunity to compete their way into the upper division, creating a promotion system similar to the structure in the European football leagues. The 70 permanent members would never be in danger of moving down, while the second division would have the incentive of promotion and relegation. So, folks, all this stuff means is we might be getting Super League soon, folks.
Hey, man, let me push in on that. So this is what got my attention. I've been looking at the article from The Athletic before we started, and that's why I shot the text and said, we've got to talk about this, because what's fascinating about this is the fact that there's potential for regulation or deregulation for like these lower tier teams. So your upper teams, it's going to be there like they always are, but the lower tier have an opportunity to expand those divisions. And then if they don't perform, they get sent their butts right back down. Man, could you imagine like Vanderbilt being kicked out of the SEC? And
Auburn.
they bring up like
Auburn. Would
Auburn.
be such a shame. Oh, wow.
They
How
sent
the SEC
Auburn
would miss
down.
out.
And then
Dude,
they bring up Boston College or
dude, could
something
you
like that,
imagine
man.
that?
That would be just some
Could you imagine like
hilariousness.
Rutgers being kicked out of like
Right, Rutgers kicked out of the Big Ten.
Could you imagine that? I mean, think about this
Oh
shit for a
man,
minute, man. What's a Big
that
Ten
would be
team that
bananas.
sucks? Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to say sucks. Okay, I don't want to say sucks. That's just so harsh for me to say.
I
But a
mean,
Big Ten team that's
Northwestern.
like, could you imagine like Northwestern being kicked out of the Big
Uh,
Ten?
You.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
yeah, he beat me
Iowa.
to he beat me to it. No, I was gonna say, like, yeah, Iowa always has a good defense, but like, can we kick them out simply because they're
Because of
incapable
their
of scoring?
offense. Yes, yeah. Sign me up for that.
I mean,
IU, great example there.
yeah. ACC.
I mean,
Look at some teams in the ACC, man. You
ooh,
know what I
poor
mean? Like,
ACC.
ooh.
I mean,
Take your
ACC
pick.
would, dude. Ooh, there's a lot of teams in the ACC that wouldn't survive.
That would get fully
No.
deregulated
Like,
in a
sorry,
heartbeat.
Georgia Tech. You know what I'm saying? Like, sorry, Georgia Tech.
Bye,
You
John
know?
Tech. We understand that you're really good at mathematics, but we're gonna kick you schmoove out
Go
of
be a
this.
public ivy and go compete
Right.
with MIT.
Right. Go compete with MIT. We're gonna go ahead and send you about your way. But no, that's another one to consider. It's just fascinating that the idea is there. Now, is it gonna happen? Probably not. But I think within the next 5 to 10 years, something has to change around college football. It truly cannot be sustainable that it's going to be SEC and Big Ten basically running everything, with the other two conferences complaining nonstop.
Yeah.
Something has to change. Even though, an SEC and, granted, the Big Ten, it just means more than everybody else. Something's got to change. So I'm curious to see what that looks like within the next 5 to 10 years. And I think this idea is a good one that's going to start sparking true conversation, because these are people that actually have money that can make this happen.
Yeah.
This isn't just us dreaming stuff out there and theory casting. This is like people with bread that can say, these are sports executives that saying, look, there's an avenue we can actually pull this off. And then players getting collectively bargained. Whew.
So I guess my question is, this is why we need Chris on the show today, because he's a lawyer. If this happens for only football, how does the funding work when all this comes in? Because the funding for football at these big schools, the Bamas, the Texases, the Oklahomas, the Michigans, Ohio States, the football funding funds pretty much a majority of the shit that goes on at these schools, man.
I can answer that.
Buildings. Yeah. Go ahead.
I can answer that one. That was easy. Now, when it comes to the buildings, unless it's like athletic facilities, of course, your buildings mainly come from donors that donate to the actual school itself, which is also a very fascinating conversation, because right now there's a battle internally at every single school between NIL and fundraising for the actual school
I don't
itself.
know how much of a battle it is, because Ole Miss's AD straight up came out and said these kids don't give a darn about any of the facilities. We're putting all of our money towards NIL.
Exactly.
Very fair point. But that's the thing about it. Those people that work in the fundraising departments to get donors to donate towards buildings and stuff for like academics wise, they're fighting in a lot of these bigger conferences, because like you said, they're like, I'd rather the older generation are like, I want to see my team compete for a title. Some of the younger money makers are kind of a combination of both. I want to put my name on a building, but also I would like my football team or basketball team to be good. So it's a combination of those two. But to answer your question, how does that work for the others? It's very easy. You have to license those schools for them to play in the Super League. So, for example, as the revenue comes in order for Oklahoma or a Texas or Alabama to have a quote-unquote team in the Super League, you're going to have to license their logo and everything from the school into that Super League team, because Super League teams are going to be separate. So that's a great way to get that money back into the schools to fund those sports that are, your Olympic sports that don't bring in revenue.
Yeah.
A whole license model. Somebody else mentioned, I think it was Chip Kelly that mentioned that a long time ago about how that makes sense, but that's probably the most genius way to do it. Just make them license it.
Well,
then those sports don't go away.
And I think that the theme of this conversation, right, because this is the newest idea that has come about, but gentlemen, just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, the Big Ten and the SEC are openly kind of having conversations about completely pulling out of the NCAA.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten to a point where the NCAA can police Nothing. For instance, the NCAA tried to maintain that one-time transfer rule. A judge in West Virginia put in an injunction saying you can't police how many times they transfer. That violates antitrust. The NCAA laid down and said, okay, why? Because there's 5 active court cases, 4 of which coming on the docket in 2025, dismantling the NCAA's antitrust structure. The reason why I think this is so notable is the bottom line here is that it's no more NCAA. Now, what does that look like? One of the interesting things I saw in this was the notion that, like, yeah, we'll still do NIL, but it's not going to be as it is right now. We're going to do revenue sharing. And I know that there are some people that when you say that, they're like, oh, well, why would you do that? Because all the players will end up making more money, right? This is the thing that I loved whenever, like, we were talking about this the last time. This is what Saban said. Saban on Capitol Hill was like, we need to continue with NIL, but we need to do NIL as it was meant to be. If Gatorade wants to come and sponsor a kid, let Gatorade come and sponsor a kid. But why don't we do revenue sharing? That way everybody gets a piece of the pie. Everybody gets money. Because right now you have your Bryce Youngs or your Quinn Ewers making so much money, but there's a cat on that Alabama or Texas roster that's making crumbs as comparatively to some of these other guys. You still get to create value for yourself through NIL, but then you would also have the access through revenue sharing. And that I find really intriguing. I don't know how they would do it, but I'm really interested in like how they would structure the payments, how they would structure the relegation, all of that. It's going to be fun to see.
It's going to be interesting, because if they do something like that, man, where, it's just sharing, right, of all the funds, right? So if that happens and there's revenue sharing going on, there's going to have to be something like a salary cap, right? But if there's a salary cap, all schools aren't created equal, right? So, I don't want to say that South Carolina's not going to bring in the money that Bama's going to bring in, right?
not.
So
But
how does
we
that
see
work?
that in the NFL
Well,
already.
yeah.
Dallas
right.
Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in the world, yet somehow the Green Bay Packers, which are publicly owned, are still operating on a consistent basis, even though the outside revenues
Look at the
aren't
Raiders.
the same.
The
Yeah.
Raiders, the most cash poor team in the NFL, are still afloat easily, even though the brand is still strong.
Yeah.
They don't make no money because they were in, for Oakland for so long. Now they're in Las Vegas. So, but no, I think to your point, what you're kind of pointing out is, well, once you start collectively bargaining, it's going to be everybody's putting out. This is when socialism comes into play, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Basically, everybody's going to share from the big pot of money that comes in, and then they divvy it up equally. And unfortunately,
Ooh.
there's nothing you can do as the big schools. You're not going to be able to negotiate getting a larger piece of that pie
So
if
this
you're
is
going into a bigger league,
so
combined
all
league.
right. All right. So this is my thing when it comes to the big schools, right? Is a Texas, is a Bama, is a Tennessee, is a Michigan, is an Ohio State? Are they going to want to fund Wisconsin?
Probably not, unfortunately.
And
I'm
so-
No, they're not going
It's
to-
idealistic, my idea, but you're right.
Right. They're not going to want to, but they're going to not, unless they decide to branch off into a super big league and then a minor league.
I think
They're not going to have a choice if they're going to want to play football.
I think that's going to be a hiccup in there because I can't
Right.
see teams getting all this revenue and then saying, no, people are coming to see Alabama play Vanderbilt. They're not coming to see Vanderbilt, right? So
You're right.
Yeah.
so
And it's
I
fair.
am going to, if that happens and I put it in a big pot, is this going to be like the PBC with boxing where Tank Davis gets 90% of the lion's share and whoever he fights gets 10%, right?
No. It'll be like the NFL model. That's exactly what's going to set up for me. So, or if you can look at the NBA, like look at your small market teams, Oklahoma Cities, your Charlottes, your San Antonios, they still get the equal amount of the pie, even when they're in their down years, right? Because that's just your salary cap is based upon how much money is coming in as an organization, but not individual teams, just organizationally, right? That's where your salary cap comes into play. If we're bringing in $1 billion this year, we divvy it up among all these teams. You can spend no more than this amount for your players. That's where your caps come to play. That's kind of where your negotiational piece is going to come in. I think the good thing for them is it's a lot easier because you're only dealing with like 4 years, right? If you make it to where there's no red shirt and it's only your 4 years of play, eliminating all the extra years. You won't deal with what the NFL has, where they have a whole bunch of dead years on the back end of
On the cap,
contracts. You got
basically.
4
Sorry, Bo
years and
Nix.
your butt's out.
So,
Right.
all right. So this is my thing, right? So is it when you're talking about the money going into one pot? Are we talking about the money made from the actual games? Are we talking about donor money?
TV.
Like
TV
TV,
money's most you
TV revenue.
typically
Yeah.
NFL, NBA, the way they're in MLB, the way they do theirs is they have the big national TV contract. Well, MLB doesn't, they do regional stuff, but they have the big national TV contracts. And from that, and anything the league makes is what goes into the pot for the cap. Now,
Okay.
the teams like ticket money and stuff goes to them. You
Okay,
can do
so-
whatever you want to with that.
All right. So this makes sense. So when you're looking at the revenue share piece, this is to guarantee that every player in
Equity.
college football gets the same amount, basically. So
Yes.
separate of NIL. So let's say, for instance, the revenue share would say every player in college football gets 50 grand a year.
Or
Right, like-
Yes.
Yeah.
or it's one of those things like the NFL where each team is given $10 million and they say, do with this what
Have
you
at
will.
it.
If your quarterback now, I
That's
don't
the
know
only
the
thing-
answer to that.
man, that's
That's a great
crazy.
question. You know, that's a
That is
fantastic.
crazy.
But that's where
Okay.
the free market comes in. The question, free market wise, is what is a quarterback worth to you?
But I
Right? And then the
think-
market
oh,
sets
man.
itself.
Okay, all right. So this is the problem that I'm getting hung up on, right?
Mhm.
If we're going to revenue share and we're going to mandate that all the teams get equal share, right? And since we're now essentially, if this happens, we're going to be making college football a minor league for football, basically. I
Yep.
would want to kind of keep it simple, right? This would be my thing. I think the revenue share should be that every kid gets equal amount. NIL per school separately is where these kids are going to make their money. Like that's where your Bryce Young comes in and hits him across the head for 1.5, right? Or you might get a 2-star kid like a guy like at Texas, Foreman, right? He ended up becoming the Doak Walker, winner. He was a 2-star coming in, college. So of course he wasn't going to make the money coming out of high school in the college because his star ranking wasn't that large, right? So everybody revenue shares gets their 50 grand, but this gives him an opportunity to where NIL, he's able to pick it up and make some real bread. If he actually performs at the level of which he thinks he should be performing. Steve, what you
Well,
think? Man?
it's
You kind of quiet today, man.
Yeah, Steven, I know. No, he over here quiet and stuff. Look on
You over
modulate.
there
He's
plotting
feeling
right
good.
now. You watching Spurs or something?
No, I've been listening to this awesome conversation. I think it's funny the article and everything that's come up because it's literally almost to a T what I suggested a couple maybe our last show or the show before.
Mhm,
Literally what
mhm.
I explained. And
Yeah.
now we're seeing like people running with this idea, but I don't have money to actually fund it like these guys.
You
but
sure?
No, but we can make
somebody
sure you get
was-
your due credit. We'll all riot.
Somebody was well.
The
I stole a lot of
Godfather.
my stuff from Chip Kelly, so to be fair, but
I thought it was Chip was talking about
I
that
stole
similar.
a lot.
Yeah.
But I had some alterations in there from what Chip said. But I mean, I hear what you guys are saying in terms of revenue split and TV dollars split. But I mean, to the point about will Texas fund Wisconsin or anything like that? I mean, how does it work today in terms of us in the SEC? I mean, don't they still have to? Isn't there some sort of negotiation of what each team gets with the TV deal, or like what does that? I don't know how different that would be in terms of sharing what it is today versus revenue, TV money revenue. Is
Well, the
what I'm
TV
going.
revenue money today in the conferences is split between each school, so they all get an equal share.
Right.
So Vanderbilt gets the same thing that you get from that Alabama would
So
get.
then, why would they be pissed off in the new model?
Yeah,
if
okay.
You see
It's
what
a
I'm
fair
saying?
point.
Yeah, that's what you're saying now.
Well, I think what you were thinking about, Nino, is that like Texas having 100,000 seat stadium, would they have to share their gate money with a
Yeah,
Vanderbilt
that's
who
what I
has
was
like
thinking.
30,000 or a Missouri who has 35,000? No,
Because it was all going to
that's
one pot, right?
exactly.
If it's
That's
just the TV
not.
revenue, then
Missouri
it's the same
Stadium only
stuff.
holds 35.
Well, Baylor only holds like 40.
Yeah, I think Missouri holds like 60. They're very small. They're a very small
Yeah.
stadium.
They're
They're one of
only
the
going to
smaller stadiums in the
agree
conference.
to the TV stuff anyway because these are multi-billion-dollar contracts.
Mhm.
There's tons and tons and tons of money, but all the other individual school stuff, you know, I think that would probably remain what it is right now. There's a reason why certain schools generate more profit
Mm-hmm.
than others, right? And
Yeah.
so there's a whole bunch of ancillary things that that generate money that Texas may do or Alabama may do that Missouri or another school may not, right? And
Yep.
tickets being part of that. So I'm not too
Gotcha.
concerned about that. I mean, I've always said they need to break away. My thing is in this model, are we going to go to, what did the divisions look like,
Yeah.
right? They're talking about 7 leagues. I would hope that we get to a place where things are a little bit more localized, and we can eliminate Maryland and UCLA being in the same conference and nonsense like that. I mean, just that doesn't even make sense at a professional level.
It doesn't. Now,
That's the thing that's
now,
bothered me most about realignment has been that we're losing a lot of the regional stuff that actually has meaning as far as like hate and stuff.
but one thing I
That does
can
bother me.
say, this is one thing that could actually benefit from this, right? But hold on, folks. First off, Sharpshooters Podcast, he's the homie. Go check him out. Really good content, man. He's a Bama fan, but it's all good.
Brinsky.
What's up, Brinsky?
The
But
We
big
love
homie.
him anyways.
he talks about a lot of good stuff, man. And he's a music lover too. So if you love music, man, Sharp's gonna definitely, like talk some good music stuff with you, man. So shout out to Brinsky, man. But one thing I can say, guys, just to kind of counter about the localized teams and stuff, right? What has been the main thing that these kids have said when they are getting recruited out of Texas, Georgia, Alabama, or just kids across the country? They want to come play where because that's where all the talent's at. They want to go play
No,
in the
no, that's fair.
SEC, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess one counter to that is if the teams weren't all localized and where you had only the SEC teams like the from Texas over to Florida, right, playing each other. If they did have people in different spots playing each other, then it could possibly spread the wealth of talent across the nation and not be so localized in the South. That's my only counter. I don't think it's right. I like having the teams together because I like seeing Texas and OU and Texas A&M play. I love seeing Auburn and Alabama play. I want to see Florida, Miami, Florida, Florida State play. I want to see those games. But I guess my only counter would be that, yes, if there was a conference and you had 7 leagues, and one of those leagues had, let's say, USC, Ohio State, Florida, um, Wisconsin, and Maryland. Guess, look, I know the travel is going to be stupid ridiculous for that, right? But if it's a semi-pro league now, right? I mean, if it's semi-pro, like kind of is what it is at that point, right? But Steven, I'm with you. I like the localized games, but I'm
Yeah,
just
I
thinking
mean,
outside the box here.
what do we? I mean, come on. I mean, and maybe this is my East Coast bias now talking because
Yeah.
I grew up in DC. I'm like, football exists everywhere, right? And I understand that there's more centralized areas of this country that care more and generate more, and kids want to play in certain areas. But I grew up in a time where Miami and Florida State mattered, right? And some of these things freaking mattered. And if there's a way to make those things matter and encourage that, even monetarily, so that those schools can keep their kids, or even Penn State on the East Coast. Some of the reasons why we've lost these regional rivalries is because of realignment had been taking place. Maryland going to the Big Ten, for example, was terrible for all of their rivalries. And it's like there's a sense of apathy that's set into a program that's very, very big and has a lot of money, but they don't care about playing Iowa. They care about playing, Virginia and the teams that are in the ACC and so forth. I mean, West Virginia and Pittsburgh used to be those are teams that should be together
Right.
for if we care about the sport. But if we're just here to make money and that's the only thing that matters, then let's roll with creating these conferences however it needs to be to make
Or
the most money.
or maybe you keep those rivalries, and so now there's opportunity for Pitt and West Virginia to play now because they will be in the same league, but you would still have a little bit of regional overlap, from like region to region. Like Cowboys go play the Patriots and the but that's kind of like your preseason, right? For college football, those first 3 or 4 games, you kind of go play other teams, but usually those teams are still local. So like for instance, Bama played South Florida. South Florida's not far from Bama, all right? I mean, it's not that far. Texas plays UTSA, but you do get that one big game out, right? So Texas plays Alabama this year, but to be honest with you, that's still the South, all right? And they're two big brands. It's different, but Texas goes to the big house and they play Michigan next year, right? And then you got where Bama play USC, right? And so you get those big matchups, but I can see those for like the first 4 games, right? Where you kind of go out of the league, out of the conference, almost like the NFL does, where Cowboys play Patriots or 49ers go and play the Jets, right? So it just happens, right? But I don't know, this very
I
interesting,
just
man.
don't want a scenario where, because we're already headed here,
Yeah.
where you're asking college kids to travel
That's
more
what I was
than the
about to say.
You're asking them to travel more than the professional guys, and the professional guys don't have to go to class.
Right. And
And they're
that's
getting paid
that's
much more.
one.
Students?
Yeah.
That's one. And then you're also asking your fan base, which is comprised of a lot of students that are in
That's true.
school that build the pride. They can't afford the USC kids. I mean, it's as rich as a lot of them probably are. It's going to be tough for them to make it to Maryland on a
But-
consistent basis. And
But
Penn
9 times out of
State,
10, though, I mean, honestly, though, let's look at this.
broke college kid road trip, and that was the best part about being a college kid. You could road trip up the.
Yeah,
I mean, being
but-
think about it in the Big 12, right?
But it's
like
but
for
it's
Texas,
like-
you could roll down
that
the
was when
street to
McDoubles
this
were
game.
$1.
That's what,
It's a lot harder to budget when that damn McChicken is $3 now, $4 now. That really throws a wrench in it.
damn, 5 guys is $25 a person,
I mean,
man.
you
What
could
the
make
hell's going on with 5
argument
guys?
that the average fan has already been priced out of an
Yeah,
in-stadium
exactly,
experience just
exactly.
in the regular season period.
You're probably right.
Every
they are.
every game that I've been to for Texas away, whether it was Texas at Maryland or Texas at West Virginia or Texas at Bama, you know what I'm saying? Look who rose in the equation right now. Oh my God, look at this guy. Late as usual, but always on time. Our brother from another, Chris with a mother freaking K.
Look, man, I just got off of work, man.
We know it's all
I
good,
saw
bro.
Steven was on here. I knew Nick was up to his usual. Excuse me. I saw Steven on here. I saw Nick up to his usual foolishness.
Texas
Said I
is always
can't
better than
leave
OU.
Ty
You see
over
that?
there to deal with that trash,
You see that?
and I can't leave Jay by himself. So I just had him be here, just as Debo. I got to be Debo on here right now. So yeah.
Yeah, man. But just talk with like Steven was saying, the average fan has been priced out of college football. Well, just out of sports, period. Just sports, period. You got to have some bread now to go travel to games. When I traveled to go see games, man, I didn't see any college students damn near in any one of the games I went to. Texas versus West Virginia, cheap tickets, no college students. For one thing, it's to travel, of course, but Texas versus Maryland and DC, that's a haul. But kids come out there. Texas versus Bama, you would think more college kids would have been there. No,
Yeah.
those tickets were outrageous. $300-400 a ticket. So the average fan has been priced out. But most of those kids go to the home games, right? So if you got 12 games, you got 6 at home. Kids are going to show out and show loud, and the folks with money, should travel and fly out and get rental cars to just drive. Let make a road trip of it.
Yeah, that's gonna be the tough part. I mean, you basically priced out all of your fans at that point, right? Unless you're a high end donor or you just rich with a lot of bread. Like the best part is the college fans being able to participate, and they not able to do that anymore if you make it that way. So the way it's going, it's getting to that point now. Now, luckily, like with OU Texas being in just the South.
Yeah.
And just basically extend to Arkansas, Louisiana, all drivable places. You can do that, but you still miss out on, some things, going up the street, going towards Kansas State, making a ride to Iowa State. But having the way the Big Ten is set up with 2014. Why are they still called the Big Ten? Let's just talk about that part. Can we discuss why? I mean, I understand they're basically the quote unquote big conference, but why are they still the Big Ten? Can we take the 10 off of it? Let's get rid of
All
it.
those teams, and they still don't match up to the new SEC.
Big
What was
2-4,
it?
baby. Big
Their
2-4, baby.
conference is the Legends League and the I forgot the other one.
What is
Bro,
the
but
legends in the oh man, I forgot. But yeah, it sucks. But
like, it's great for them, but genuinely, and I'm not even trying to send a shot. The new SEC with Texas and Oklahoma, like, I mean, come on, man. That league is so
Well,
that's going to be so much fun for all of us, right? Like, what a
it's-
move by the SEC.
Yeah, man,
I've always
SEC
loved
did the
it.
thing, but look here though, man. I'm gonna counter that too. All right, so let's look at the Big Ten. All right. Well, first off, let's look at the SEC. You got Bama, you got Georgia, you got Oklahoma, you got Texas, you got
LSU,
you got LSU. Damn, LSU.
Florida.
You got Florida.
Tennessee.
Huh?
Tennessee.
You got Tennessee. Who else?
Ole Miss.
We don't have to say anything about A&M. I'm good with leaving them off.
I mean,
I'm certainly
these
good
are
with leaving Auburn
massive
off.
fan bases.
No, yeah,
You're right. You're right.
yeah,
I'm
you know,
just
so
I'm just
you know,
sending
so you got
shots.
A&M. They're a fan base. Ole Miss is huge. I mean, they're starting to grow. You know, like Ole Miss is starting to get it.
Auburn's huge.
Auburn. So that's 10 teams, right? That's 10. That's 10 out of the 16 right there, right? Okay, I think those are the heavy hitters. Those are the heavy hitters, right? Those are the heavy hitter fan base organizations. Now, Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, right?
USC.
Yeah, USC,
Oregon.
Washington's. You know, we can say what we want to about
great
Washington.
additions right there.
I'm trying to
Penn
think.
State.
Huh? Penn State, Nebraska. Big fan base, no matter how they've done.
True.
Huge fan base. So that's 7. Who else?
Man.
Man,
No, it starts to drop.
it does start to drop pretty quick too. Well, if we include A&M, you got to include Michigan State.
Well, I'm actually fine with Michigan State
That's
because,
fine.
like,
Yeah.
they've got a great basketball presence, right, in terms of athletic.
Why y'all laughing like that,
No,
nigga?
Chris's reaction.
That's Chris, man.
Come
That's
on.
great.
Like, what are we doing?
You get to the Illinois, the Northwesterns, the Indianas, the Marylands, the Rutgers.
You're Rutgers. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, that's a significant piece of that
Do
conference.
we put UCLA in there?
I think I said UCLA.
I'm fine with
I mean,
UCLA in there. Yeah.
Well, no.
USC,
So I didn't put it in there. So
UCLA.
that's 9 teams right there. You're right, man. They got 24 teams right now. Is it 24?
Something crazy. How many
So,
is
like,
it, Jay?
I'm gonna pull it.
I think it's 20 right
20.
now.
So pound
It's
for pound, the
technically
SEC
20.
has to. It is what it is. They got the better teams. Pound for pound.
Well, and then even if we're, like, ranking those, like, fair play to Michigan. Great season, no doubt about it. Gonna be fun to see what they look like next year. Y'all have a great game going up there. That I'm so excited
I'm
for
excited about
Texas.
that one. I would love to go to that game, to be honest with you.
Gosh, man, you should.
That answers a couple of questions about both teams early on in the season, as far as, I mean, really for both seasons. I mean, for both teams. So I'm excited about that game too.
And Ohio State, like, they're going to be an interesting team. But I think if we're doing, like, the real heavy hitters, I think even then, like, the SEC is still more top heavy in between
Yeah, they are.
Texas,
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Bama, Georgia, LSU. Right there. I mean, those teams right there are going to take your pick. OSU versus Michigan and against all those, and it's an absolute dogfight.
OU and Texas going to the SEC tip the scale. So now the
Yeah,
SEC,
no doubt.
not in my book, and you guys know that I've criticized the SEC for being top heavy for a lot of times, but now with OU and Texas being there, I don't think you can say that anymore, because I think that with the current coaches, the current regimes that are there at each school, I think that I don't think OU or Texas expects to have a down season anymore. With
Then
what
what
we
SEC
have
schools would
currently.
have. Fair point.
You know, I like to.
18. They know they're gonna have to. They got 8 freaking.
What's going on, Jay?
Jay.
Auburn hacked him. They heard about me trying to relegate them, and they're trying to hold us down. Oh, there he is. We're back.
There I am.
you
I'm back. I'm
There
back.
you
My
go.
bad. Yeah, I'm back. Interweb's acting up. 18 teams.
Yeah, 18 teams. I just got it up. So,
Stupid.
man, look, travel's going to be stupid for this, man.
So what are we
Steven,
on? Like, so
I'm
what
with
number
you.
are we on now of how many from the big y'all would consider?
I think we said 9. So, okay, so we said, look, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan State, USC, Nebraska, UCLA, Oregon,
Michigan?
Washington, and Michigan. That's 10 teams. 10 out of 18. I didn't even throw in Iowa. And Iowa's, they
No.
no, but Iowa has a legit loyal fan. But you're right. I will put Iowa. I would put Iowa in the same conversation as
And you're
South
talking about the
Carolina
heavy hitters,
or
right?
or a Mizzou, honestly.
Yeah, they're
You're
not.
talking about the
yeah, that's true. That's true.
you're talking
Heavy
about the
hitters.
heavy hitters, right?
They're like the second tier.
Yeah. I would say
Good, strong,
like
second
heavy
tier
hitter
schools.
to mid heavy hitter, because some of the teams I listed for the SEC, I wouldn't count them as heavy hitters.
Now, Steven, back me up on this. Somebody bag me up on this at least. I don't put who were the last like Michigan State, hell, Minnesota, even Washington. I'm sorry, I know it's just recency bias, but for a long time
Washington's
they
a
were
strong
mediocre
program.
too. I mean, it's going to be like a damn Ferris wheel out there. It's going to be a revolving circle of just spitting out one team out of that bunch that is like, oh yeah, they're good this year, and they're sorry this year. They're good this year. They're sorry this year.
But Washington
Jed
always has
Fish.
this like
Go ahead.
crazy aspect to get good coaches. I mean, you're talking
Yeah,
about
they
Don
do.
James, Chris Peterson. I mean,
Peterson,
and then listen, I
DeBoer.
know I was gonna throw it out there. I didn't know if like it was so short, but he was so successful.
He
when
went
he
to
was
the playoffs.
There.
He went.
And Natty, yeah. I mean,
he went to
it's just-
Natty. You know,
they get great coaches.
Yeah,
No,
that's respect.
and I get that, but I'm just saying, like, it's not every year that they're consistently putting out 10-win seasons like that. Same with Iowa, same with Michigan State, same with Iowa, same with a lot of those teams. Those teams are the same as Mississippi State catching lightning in a bottle.
Well,
Now Ole Miss is good.
I don't know. But if I do that, I got to take
Washington.
Ole Miss out of the equation. I got to take A&M out of the equation.
Mhm.
I gotta, like if I do that, I got to start taking some teams out of the SEC, because I put Ole Miss in there and I put A&M in there because they got huge fan bases. Even though they might not win all the time, they still got huge fan bases and they travel well, and they're going to fill 100,000.
They're going to spend money.
Yep, they're going to spend money, and so that's why I put Michigan State, because they do spend money. Michigan State teams spend money. Washington is a wild fan base. If you've never been to a Washington game, they are a wild fan base. They spend money.
They have a national presence. There's a lot of Washington fans all over
across the country. I worked with a lot of them in the Pentagon, man. And you want to talk about guys who are into their football? Washington folks are into their football. But
the rest of those teams in the Big Ten, again, the IUs, the Illinois,
Purdue,
the Minnesotas,
Rutgers,
the Purdues, the
Northwestern,
the Northwesterns, they're all in that boat.
Maryland.
Right? Of what they're Maryland's a sleeping giant because Maryland has all the Under Armour money, and
that is true.
Maryland can be a giant if they ever took it seriously.
No, they do take it seriously. The problem is
they do.
To his little brother kept getting hurt. His knee.
Maryland takes it seriously.
I'm talking about Maryland as a major program.
They do take it seriously. Their biggest problem is that they also are playing in a deficit every single year because of how much they have to spend to travel. I think they're the ones that are always negative. And their biggest donor is the dude that owns Under Armour. Like, so you should have money.
I saw you out there, Coach Smook, with Roll Tide Willie. I saw it.
Crazy part, though, man, is Maryland can be the Oregon of the East. With all the absolutely could be the Oregon of the East.
And they're in one of the most fertile recruiting grounds. But they get smoked by Penn State because Joe Pa owned that area for so long, and then Beamer at Virginia Tech started hanging out there, and West Virginia took So, but when Maryland's right, they have all the bread to do it. They could be as big as they want it to be. So, but
You know what's so funny about that, Steve? And it's part of the reason why I absolutely agree with you is because my family is from out there in like the New Kent, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia area. And I know like you might not see a bunch of 5 stars coming from Virginia or even Maryland. I mean Maryland, they put out the top ranked
Talent.
prospects. Like they got a lot in Maryland.
Pound for pound, they're one of the best in the nation.
Yeah,
if I
it's
go
ridiculous
through
actually. Yeah.
06, 07 Florida Gators and just took the Maryland players off,
Yeah, you got a point,
and put them where they're supposed to be, and then I take Stephon Diggs and Trayvon Diggs and tell them, hey, y'all
Stay
are
home.
staying here in PG County and Montgomery County.
Yep.
Yeah, great
Like-
point. Well, I mean, even then, you got Chris Braswell, you got Shane Lee, you got, I mean, right there, those are 2 NFL caliber players. Chris Braswell is going to be a 2nd round guy.
Yeah,
I
easy.
mean, I've even heard some smoke about first, which is, but great point, man. Maryland is interesting because they have so much talent there, and the East Coast, and then. Steve, you can speak on this. Washington, D.C., people think they got some wild players in the District of Columbia. Now, let me tell you what.
Yes.
Caleb Williams.
Yes.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Look, guys, for those who don't know, the CAC conference, the Catholic League conference there in Washington, D.C.,
Stupid.
in the DMV area between Gonzaga, Good
Whew.
Counsel, DeMatha, St. John's,
Yeah.
Bishop McNamara. These are people that have produced NFL, NBA talent over the last 30, 40 years. Some of the biggest names you can think of have come from those. They are all in one league. They all play each other every year in one league. That's why when Caleb Williams won that league as a sophomore in high school, he ascended automatically. It's like, we don't need to see anymore because he was doing it against future NFL players.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Hey,
that
the
Trinity
DMV,
League
man.
out there in California.
It's crazy league.
Straight stupid, man.
Dumb.
Even, just to bring it back, man, basketball in 2006, Texas gets a guy from that Maryland area by the name of Kevin Durant. A lot of people were wondering, how come he didn't go to Georgetown or somewhere in the area, or even go up to like New York and go to Syracuse or go to look.
What if I told
there's
you
a lot of
him and
talent in that
Michael
area, dude.
Beasley were not only they were from the same freaking block,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then Tywan Lawson, because we're all the same age. Tywan Lawson, who ends up becoming the national championship point guard at North Carolina.
Yep, Lawson, man. Yeah.
Like,
So many of them.
that's all from one like zip
No,
code.
that DMV area is crazy.
It's stupid sick, dude. It's stupid sick. They put some hoopers out.
Whoa.
They put some ballers. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
It is.
But
Pooh,
they
what you
leave.
doing in South Korea? It's crazy.
I know. What's up, Pooh? You in
Is
the
it-
military?
I love his profile
Isn't
picture.
Oak Hill out there in Virginia?
Oak Hill's in Virginia,
Yes.
but Oak
It's
Hill's
in like Mount
south,
Wilson.
Okay, so it's not in the DMV area
It's not,
though.
it's not technically
No.
DMV,
No,
but
it's-
it's
No, it's
full
not
of
DMV.
players.
They got a lot of.
So it might as well be, yeah.
Let's be real.
It's the DMV All-Star team.
Hey,
Like-
wasn't
like St.
wasn't
John
Zeus
Bosco.
from there? Jay, wasn't Zeus from there?
Trent Williams? Yeah.
No. Zeus talking about
Come on. Not Orlando Brown.
Orlando Brown. Yeah, he was from that DC area, wasn't he?
I think he is from the DC. He is from
from
Baltimore.
DC?
He's
Is
from
he
Baltimore. Yeah,
Yeah,
Orlando Brown Jr. is
Hey,
Baltimore.
Baltimore is not a part of the DMV.
Yeah, it's not part of DMV.
Yeah,
Baltimore.
because if it
Maryland.
was,
Does
if
not
it was,
include Baltimore.
yeah, but
It wouldn't be fair.
well, but this is the crazy part to back up Steve's original point about Maryland is if you did include Baltimore, you got St. Francis out at Baltimore,
Ooh.
and
Right.
they
Yeah.
pump out talent. Like
Hey,
Yeah,
St.
yeah.
Francis is
Who's
wild.
the defensive end that you guys got from St. Francis? Tom?
Braswell.
Sure was.
And then
Yeah.
Shane Lee, he was and then if I look at St. Francis right now, they have the number 96 player in the nation, cornerback, right? And I'm sure if I kept going through, I'd find even more. They've got another guy, a 4-star, a cornerback, so 2 4-star cornerbacks. Let me keep going down. I mean, already.
Hold on. You know what though? Wasn't the running back from Michigan? So he was there too as well. Remember, he
I think
transferred up
so.
there because he's from either Virginia or West Virginia. He transferred up to St. Francis and
All in
played.
that.
So Blake
Shoot,
Corum. Blake
Angel
Corum.
Reese came from St. Francis.
Yeah.
Did
Yep,
she?
Angel Reese sure did. Yes,
Yes.
Angel Reese is from
Angel
Baltimore.
Reese was
Yes,
that
you
same
sure
I'm not.
did.
I'm not
From
super
Maryland.
versed in basketball. That's
Yes.
wild. No, that's
pretty sure
crazy.
More.
Blake
Just
Corum
that's
came
how
in
much
too.
talent is out there, dude. It's
Yeah.
absurd.
Her
But that's a
and
little
her
bit different because
stupid.
St. Francis kind of recruits their folks, man. They go kind of
Yeah,
like East
but
Coast wide, right?
her and her cousin, who was a lottery pick to the New Orleans Pelicans last year, won a national championship. Jordan Hawkins.
Yep.
They are all from that area. They're both
Yeah.
Baltimore kids.
Man.
Yeah.
That's
Hey, so Blake Corum is from Marshall, Virginia, but I remember seeing a special on him. He went to St. Francis for his senior year.
Virginia's got crazy running backs. That's the one thing
Yeah.
I will say. Like
Yes.
Travion Henderson, like they got crazy. I'll never forget Travion Henderson's high school highlights, and he was playing on this a field that, I mean, granted, we've gotten used to this Southern high school football, right? We go to Plano East Stadium, and it's a $63 million stadium. They're playing on like a dusty field, and it was so funny because Travion Henderson had a cloud of dust behind him, and he was just gone. God, he was talented.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, my
that area we produce a variety. It's really athletes, and it's athletes whether it's at a freakish defensive end, freakish
Yeah,
running
it's true.
backs. Just they're freaks. Whereas an area like Georgia is so rich in the big guys, in the big quarterbacks, in power, and that area of the country is fascinating to me because they produce that in mass like nobody else does.
Yeah.
And per capita, I would say right now.
Hey,
and it's
Ty.
fascinating, how these things play out regionally.
Yeah. Hey, Ty, who was the defensive lineman for Bama that came from Woodbridge, Virginia? He was first round pick. It wasn't no boy from the Jets, is it?
I want to say it's Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, he came from Woodbridge, man. Shit.
No, he's from Birmingham. So
he's from
it was
Birmingham.
someone who played.
Man, he's a first round pick a few years ago.
South Carolina's last two top 5 players or top 5-star recruits were both DMV kids, and they both came from the Catholic League, and then they took another kid from PG.
So I guess, Steven, if we had this Super League model, do you think that would help entice players in that region to stay in that area?
I would hope, man. That's one thing I've always wanted to just see it.
Yeah.
To see it. What if all these dudes just said we'll pick a school,
but
and just load up at one spot, man.
Right, instead of being mercenaries at other places like Percy Harvin.
Those schools got to get good again. That's the problem.
But that's the problem, though. Chris is
no.
Why did Texas and OU go to the SEC?
Kids straight up say they want to play in the SEC,
and kids want to play in the SEC, right?
Yeah,
it was
and a lot of
kids
too want to leave home.
Yeah.
A lot of them got to get out of home too, especially like the Baltimore kids. I mean, you hear the stories. A lot of them will say, "I can't go back home."
Yeah.
I mean, and that's all true. But if we now, I guess at our ages now, Nick especially, we probably be considered old heads, right? But basically what I'm trying to say is that back when we were teenagers, back when we were growing up on this game, we had those storylines. We had those strong storylines. You already knew. Kid was athletic, can play the quarterback position. He's from Virginia. Where is he wanting to go? He's wanting to go to Virginia Tech. He's wanting to go Vate, follow in the footsteps of a Mike Vick. He wants to play for Beamer. You got Virginia was decent, was good, but kids want to go there. I talk with one of my friends all the time. One of my friends I hoop with at my JUCO. He's from he's from Ohio. He's from Toledo, and he talks about all the time about like his cousins and everybody else that's up there from Detroit all the way to Ohio. He was like, "Hey, kids from like the hood, they want to go to Michigan State. They want to stay in East Lansing. They want to go to Michigan State." Where I'm from, he's like, everybody is cool with Toledo and everything else, Ohio, all the rest of that. Ohio State is the school, obviously. But he said everybody want to go to Michigan State because it's cool to go to Michigan State. But
Yeah.
he said people go to Michigan just because they fall in love with the little vibe there, maybe a little money, different things like that. So it's like, you know, those kids hear the stories. Those kids want to play for those schools and stuff. But in my opinion, those schools just aren't good enough now.
But they
Vautech
can't be
hasn't
good
been
to get
good
the
in how
talent.
long? Huh?
They got to get the talent though. So that's where I thought that Mel Tucker was going to kind of catapult Michigan State when he had the good season. You know, built it off the transfer portal. I
Yeah,
was like,
same.
okay, this is when you can recruit, and we're going to see if you're going to develop the talent. But even after that great season, his recruiting class still wasn't, you know, the best, right? And they just came off of what, a 10-win season, 11-win season, you
Yeah.
know. So
Chris, you hit it though in terms of Virginia Tech.
mhm,
That one period. So there's 2 periods
they
of
were
time right
booming,
around the
boy.
same
They were
where they
booming.
hit it, right? So Virginia Tech at that point with during the Vic years, remember Kevin Jones. I don't know if anybody remembers Kevin Jones, the running back.
Yep.
He was the number
Yep.
1 player in his class, I believe, in regardless of position, and he signed with Virginia Tech. And that was Michael Vick's sophomore year. He had Kevin Jones and Lee Suggs in the
Yeah.
backfield, and they were
Mhm.
throwing to Andre Davis and all those guys. And remember, they went to the Natty Vick's freshman year against Florida State. They had DMV talent on that team.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Vic today is not going to Virginia Tech. Vic is
No.
probably going south, right?
He's going
He's probably
south or
going
he's
to Bama.
going, you know, Midwest. One of the two.
No, I mean,
Right.
and then you got to think about like the
And then West Virginia for a short period of time kept people home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pat.
Ooh, that's true.
West
Pat
Virginia,
White.
Pat White.
Pat White.
Yeah, Pat
Pat
White.
White, Steve Slayton, and they
Slayton.
kept Noel Devine. They kept Noel Devine in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
go all the way to, you know, the spin cycle himself, one of the greatest highlight tapes of all time.
Tavon
He came
Austin.
out of Tavon
Oh,
Awesome
man.
came out of Dunbar in Baltimore,
Yeah.
and
What about
you know,
what about like
but
and just
since
correct me
then
if
those
I'm
teams
wrong.
have fallen off.
They
No, I
have,
was gonna
man.
say correct me if I'm
hold
wrong,
the
but
same.
like when you think Vautech, you think D'Angelo Hall. Didn't they have the Fuller brothers?
They
Yes.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
because
did.
like you're talking about DBs, different kid. I mean, they yeah.
But you got to bring them in spades, though, man. You got to bring more
Yeah.
than just the 2 or 3.
Yeah.
See, that's where it's different in the SEC and just teams with a brand is that they
It's
can go
every
recruit
year.
nationally, man. It's every year. That's why, you know, you see Bama at the time when Saban was there, and you know he's kicking butt because he's able to like stockpile 5 stars and say, hey, look, you play 1 year, you're going to the league, so just sit here and wait, kid. You know, and it's like, so when one goes out, look here, man, Jalen Hurts goes out in the national championship game. They put in Tua and win the damn thing, right? Tua gets
That's
hurt
true.
prior to the SEC championship game the next year, and what happens? Jalen comes in and wins the game for him. Like, that's the kind of talent you're stacking. And then guess what? Neither one of them, you know, are there anymore. Mac Jones comes in and wins the damn championship. Like, they were just stockpiling talent upon talent, and then not having to rush to play those guys, those very talented guys that if a Mac Jones or you know, Jerry Judy, Devontae Smith would have had to go to a lesser school, they won their starting, they're getting every snap, and they have no time to develop. Right? Mac Jones got developed for 4 years. He got developed for 4 years, able to sit, learn, and then go be a first round draft pick. Those schools don't like there's no way that they can do it because they don't have the talent to where they can let that guy sit. All right. So look at Arch Manning and Jackson Arnold. All right. Jackson Arnold got a chance to sit for a year. He's a 5-star guy. If he doesn't go to Oklahoma, if he goes to Oklahoma State, he's starting. Right. Like last year,
he's starting day one.
He's starting day one. Arch Manning, if he's not behind Quinn Ewers for 2 years, he's starting somewhere his sophomore year. Right. He's not starting his sophomore year. He's going to have 2 years of getting seasoned. Those schools like West Virginia, they don't have that. They don't have that opportunity to let those guys sit. They got to play them right away.
And the thing is, they got lucky with phenoms. Pat White was a freshman phenom.
Yes.
Michael Vick was a freshman
Phenom.
So if you don't hit on
That's
a
very fair
phenom,
point.
then you know, yeah, it can attract a lot of stuff. The only other thing I wanted to say though, because the region conversation is really, really fun.
Yeah.
If you even think about the Tidewater region, as we go down from Southern Virginia through the Carolinas, right?
Ooh.
In, you know, kind of on that basis of Georgia, between South Carolina and Georgia, that Augusta area, it gets crazy there too.
It's
Because
just talent, man.
Clemson, like Spurrier, when Spurrier went to South Carolina at the beginning of the 2010s, he was starting to take over, bro.
He was
If you
racking up
remember his
talent, bro.
He was
classes.
always one quarterback away. Ty knows. I've said
He
we've
just
talked
couldn't
about
get the
Steve Spurrier.
quarterback.
One
He was
quarterback
racking up
away.
talent.
You could never get it right.
Who was
Yeah.
the
It,
last
it
quarterback
wasn't
he
his
had?
fault. Hell, his best quarterback. I think he is exercised some of his personal demons, and I'm not going to talk about that. But I'm just going to say he was one quarterback away from doing the damn thing. Because I'm gonna be real with y'all, Steve Spurrier was robbed because of all the defenses that he had. He had good enough defenses to go and win the SEC. Never had the
Those
quarterback.
kids are still in the league.
Yeah, never had the quarterback.
Just think about the running backs he had too with Lattimore. I
Yeah.
mean, he had talent too.
Lattimore
really did.
potentially could have been a
Brother,
Hall of Famer if he would have never
Jadeveon
gotten that.
Clowney,
Yeah,
Dick
Melvin
Clowney,
Ingram,
dude.
Stephon Gilmore.
yeah.
These people are still in the NFL.
yeah. Dude's still getting checks, right?
You just couldn't that air. But then our boy, the Southern preacher himself, takes over at Clemson, and he started sweeping up that area.
Killing
But then he started tapping into Georgia too,
Yeah.
but builds up Clemson.
because Clemson's right there on the border too. It's right there on
Yes.
the border. All right, so you can tap the talent, and
But
you can go
Spurrier
prominent.
was locking it
He was
down
locking it.
first.
Yes,
Before Dabo
Yeah, he was.
popped up.
He was
But
doing his
Dabo
thing, man.
took Georgia too, because Georgia got quarterbacks.
Yes,
Yeah.
he got
Isn't that
Trevor.
what-
Yeah,
He
they
got-
got
he
a
got
lot of good
Deshaun.
quarterbacks.
Where did where'd
Juju
Todd's boy
Lewis
come
coming
from?
out of Carrollton right now.
Yeah. Oh man.
What
Hey
was
man,
Kelly
you can say what you
Bryant
want to about
from?
Dabo. Dabo, hey man, he can recruit, dude.
South
Yeah,
Carolina.
Dabo can recruit.
What is
Kelly
why
Bryant
is
was South
Georgia
Carolina.
such a hotbed? Is it because they're baseball rich and those kids are pretty much cross trained from when they grow?
I have
It
no
just
idea.
looks
It seems
all
like
in.
right.
Yeah. Georgia quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
Matthew
so-
Stafford.
Especially the last 20 years. It's crazy.
Stafford, Jake Fromm.
Well,
They really
Stafford's
project some
Texas.
don't
absurd.
put him in.
Oh
there.
no,
He's a
I'm
bum.
sorry.
He's a bum.
I'm sorry.
He's a
Yeah,
bum.
he's Texas.
But
You had
Trevor
Fromm, you had
Lawrence,
Justin Fields, Trevor
Justin
Lawrence,
Fields.
Deshaun Watson. All those dudes are Georgia boys. You know what I'm saying? Like talent. All
And now,
of them.
like I said, Juju Lewis, he reclassified. Juju Lewis reclassified, and he's a top 15 player in the nation. You know how dumb that is to reclassify and be a top 15? To be a top 50 player in the nation after reclassifying is stupid.
Is that the kid that's committed to
USC.
USC
And
right now?
Bama's doing everything they can to flip him. Georgia's doing a lot to flip him. I mean, there are schools hot on the trail of this kid because he's ridiculous. He's so good.
Dude,
Hey, can
what's
we-
up? Go ahead.
James?
I got a question real quick. I got a side question real quick. It's
Yeah.
a little side mission for everybody. It literally just simple answers from everybody. Is Lincoln Riley slowly but surely slapping all his haters in the face with this recruiting class that he's building thus far?
We need to see, but here's what I will say. Have y'all done a dive into this defensive staff Lincoln Riley's put together?
I have looked at a lot. Yeah,
Matt
he's
Entz-
actually put together legitimate
Matt Entz,
defensive
head coach
coaches.
of North Dakota State, is now their linebacker coach. Coach Henderson, coached at the Los Angeles Rams, was just working with Von Miller and Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald shows up to USC's massive weekend, points at Coach Henney and says, "That guy took my game to another level." Justice Terry commits. Elijah Griffin is really looking. Two Georgia boys. One of them flipped from Georgia to USC,
Yeah,
and then
saw
they
that
got
couple
like
weeks ago, right?
yeah, and then Elijah Griffin loved his visit as well. I don't know if y'all saw it, Matai Tagoai.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. The kid that just committed there, that 6'4" linebacker, y'all
Yeah.
go watch his film.
Stupid.
Oh, it's
It's
stupid.
so much fun. He's so good. He started off his high school career as a cornerback. Then his sophomore year moved to safety, and then once he hit 6'4", 195, they moved him to linebacker, and now they fluctuate him between inside linebacker, edge rusher, but they actually still put him back there to guard the pass. He's just like the kid Jay I told you to watch, and I don't know if you ever did. Noah Carter,
Oh, no,
Yes,
Clark
yes,
from
came
yes,
to
yes,
Alabama.
yes.
Yeah,
That's a kid from Arizona, right?
where he's an edge rusher who's
He's a freak.
returning punts, returning kicks, doing one-handed catches.
He's a freak.
I did.
He's a freak. If
But,
this
He
kid
were-
was-
but does he
Yeah,
finish though? That's been a problem.
Well,
for
see, that's the
Riley.
thing.
This Matai
So-
Tagoai finishes. He takes heads.
yeah.
No. So what Chris is asking is about Riley and his class and how it goes. Now, the other thing
I
to
don't know about
remember.
that. Yeah, that's fair.
Now,
that's true.
the thing to remember here, and this is the reason why I had to turn slowly to this question. This literally is his MO. He does this every year.
But
question
he had the coaching
is-
staff to back it up.
Well, that is the difference here is that rumor has it that one of the recruits said that Riley really wasn't around. It was all the defensive staff that's doing the job.
That was Justice Terry.
Yeah, it was just a Terry. Now,
Mm.
granted, that was also a thing that turned a lot of recruits off, is that Riley wouldn't come around or be visible or be around too. So, yeah, it's cool to say that this defensive staff is doing their thing and Riley's not meddling with it. But that's also been a turn off to some of the parents and the players that he's not really he's not trying to be somewhat involved. But
So Riley's basically.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I'll say this on that. I'll
Go
wrap
ahead.
up on this. I will judge him in August. If there's no flips by then I will give him props. But traditionally, everybody who is somebody flips by August.
Well,
Well,
and
don't-
here's go ahead.
I wouldn't judge by August. I wait till December. Just wait till that first signing.
You gotta.
No, I normally would, but usually most of his flips happen by August. So
Yeah.
that's when you typically see, oh, okay, the class is changing.
Well, here's what I will
You
say.
guys
True.
would know.
It's true.
Here's what I will say. Justice Terry just scheduled his Alabama visit, and that's not alone. Like he's still scheduling.
He's going back to
visits.
Georgia too. He's going
back
everywhere.
to Georgia. If they can hold on to Justice Terry after flipping him from Georgia, that will be highly impressive.
Very.
Now, okay, folks, we all understand this is NIL era, right? To me, a lot of these flips, it's about securing the bag. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's
you're right.
I hate to say it like that, but it is. But if Lincoln is building a no kidding good staff, what he needs to do, just like you said, Jay, he's got to be more visible around those parents. He has to not just seem like a glorified OC.
Yep.
Right. You have to be a head
That's a good
coach.
point.
You know, you can't be a glorified OC. You can't be a guy that I'm only going to do it my side of the ball, and I'm going to let the defensive guys handle what they
You got to be a
do.
CEO. You
That's,
got to be
you
a
know,
CEO.
Even though, look, you guys know I talk a lot of stuff about OU, but BV is a defensive guy, but you see his fingerprints on the offense as well. You see, bringing in, the right guys be OC, Levy leaving to go to Mississippi State, so he actually promotes from within, gets his guys in that he wants, but he is going to be present. And just from the pictures and some of the interviews that you hear, he is present. A lot like Sark is present.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've seen that with Sark as well. That's the one thing that's different in
was the same way.
regimes.
Kirby's a defensive guy, but you see he is involved in the
Oh,
trench
we
work
know
of
he's
getting
involved.
guys.
Especially high profile players. If there's a high profile player on there, they're all showing up and shaking hands and they're calling the player,
kissing
saying
babies.
hi and all of
Jay,
that. Exactly.
Hey, Tide knows. I've said this a long time. Georgia didn't start winning championships until Kirby stopped messing with the quarterbacks. Because, jeez,
Yeah.
letting that Jake Fromm trash come out there. Dang.
Well, I mean, to the point though earlier that Jay made about August, I know Neo saying recruiting in general about securing the bag. I mean, everybody's throwing. If your NIL collective is on point, everybody's like. To me, that's a net neutral, if you will. There's still relationships. Are you genuine and not just checking the box remaining in contact, but you genuinely care? Steve Sarkisian doesn't have to walk into a kid's living room and talk about X's and O's if he's a defensive end. But what he can talk about is, hey, dude, I got connections to get you to the league. I got connections to get you to be developed properly. I care about you. What do you want? How can I hold you accountable to get you to where you want to be? Right? That I don't need to be an offensive or defensive end coach to have those conversations and to form a real relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley, to Jay's thing, here's where it was a lose-lose. It's like, okay, if you're not present, then I claim that as negligence. And if you are present, then what's your message? Either way, it's bad. Right. So
That's a great point.
now
You gotta
it's like,
be.
all right,
Look, you gotta
if
be
I'm
present.
in the room, am I making genuine connections?
Yes.
Period.
You got to be present more than just a cookout and more than just, hey, it's bowl season now, so now we're going to travel around on the jet, going to house. Like, you got it. Because to be honest with you, that's how, in my earnest opinion, I think that's how what's the running back that you guys had from Texas, Ty? He was basically y'all started last year. What's his name?
Jace.
Yes.
Jason McKellen.
I mean, obviously, I mean, you're not going to turn down a home visit from guys from Nick Saban, but I mean, and a lot of people were blaming that on Boulware, but at the same time, you sit there and look at Riley and you say, hey, you can't lose a kid like that. And then you go and have a season that you did, especially in the running game with, Kennedy. I think, wasn't that the year that Kennedy Brooks set out?
Yep.
Sermon transferred, and then we were basically with TJ Pleasure and the other freshman. I mean, it was.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. And Marcus Major. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle. You don't lose kids like that.
Yeah, so the crazy part is, man, it's about, like you said, it's about managing relationships when it comes to these kids. Like, it's not about going in and talking X's and O's, just like Steven said, but it's how do you use those numbers in your iPhone to match them up with the players? I'm gonna talk about Texas because I know Texas, but Sark was the OC with Dan Quinn, right? So he knows Dan Quinn very well, right? So look who is kind of mentoring Colin Simmons right now. It's a guy that it's Michael Parsons. He was coached by Dan Quinn for the like the past 3 years, and he is kind of like the mentor.
Immediately,
he got that, and it wasn't just with Michael Parsons. And I don't know this for a fact, but I'm gonna put this out there. Texas's DC, which is PK, met with Dan Quinn. What was it, 2 years ago, Steven? And to me, I think that was all about how to weaponize Overshawn, right? And how to get him all over the field, like the Cowboys have gotten Michael Parsons, like all over the field. How does that translate? It translates very well because Overshawn gets drafted by who? The Cowboys, who was Dan Quinn was the DC at that time, right? So it's about those connections, making sure that you get those kids in front of the right players, get them in front of the right coaching staff, because it could change your life. A lot of people didn't think that Overshawn would get drafted that high. He got drafted high to the Cowboys, and I think that was probably because of the relationship that between Steve Sarkisian, PK, and also Dan Quinn, all right? Knowing how to weaponize him because they were probably very familiar with him, and they trusted the evaluation of those coaches.
Talented, dude. That kid.
No, he's talented. He's talented. No, he's very talented. Yeah. But do you go with the talent that you know or the talent that you don't know?
Brother.
Huh?
We were neck and neck with LSU for Colin Sip. That was a very
that was a battle.
Recruitment.
Yeah,
it really was
a battle. But
that was a battle.
To get to the relationship piece. Nick Saban is a master at this.
Yeah.
Right, because Jalen Milroe was. I remember. I forgot what camp it was, and Saban is president. They were in. This is between the Texas stuff. Before Quinn Ewers and all that. But he pulls out his phone, and this is right around the time. I think Jalen Hurts was at OU or getting ready, and he FaceTimes Jalen Hurts and puts Jalen Hurts on the phone with Jalen Milroe. Right? Even though he's not at his school anymore.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is where you want to be and why. And the fact and what I remember Jalen Milroe, somebody saying this, he was like, dude, the fact that y'all are still talking like that and you were still close, he was like, yeah, our relationship goes way beyond football.
Saban loves relationship.
Yeah, he's such a great ambassador for the school, and not just the school. He is exactly what you want in a player, man. Is when things don't go your way, do you tuck your tail and leave? Right? He didn't. He finished. He got his degree, and when his number was called upon again to come and win an SEC championship game, he came and did it. Right? He did it. Right? And then. Yeah, he's the epitome of a team player, and it's showing. It's been very fruitful for him in the league. He goes to a great situation.
Playing by 2 programs.
Yes.
Yeah, rightfully so. And it's so funny because whenever he was transferring, the original destination for Hurts wasn't, as far as I remember the story,
Maryland
was going to be somewhere like that. And Nick Saban looked at him and said, "Hey, man. Who's putting out the best quarterbacks right now?" And Jalen Hurts said, well, Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley. He says, well, then we're going to get you to Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
Like, that's where if you want to go there, that's where we're going to get you. And it all worked out. I mean, Jalen is just, I was talking about this the other day, and then unfortunately have to, Bama, as a Bama fan, we've been very lucky. Like, speaking of the talent of the quarterbacks they've had, that's one thing. But when you look at and Mac's a great dude, but when you look at Tua, Jalen Hurts, Bryce, and now Jalen Milroe, you're not only talking about 1% athletes, you're probably talking about 1% human beings too.
Yeah,
And
great
as a
character.
Bama fan, I can't tell you how easy it is to root for Jalen Milroe. I mean, when Saban leaves, for him to know, hey, this could go one way or the other. This could get real ugly real fast. To walk in Mal Moore, turn to the reporters and said, I'm not going anywhere, roll Tide. If there's an Alabama fan that questions him after that, send them my way because we'll have a conversation. I mean, what a leader. And it's just very blessed, right? And I'm not saying that Bama fans are alone in that. It's just that run of quarterbacks they had. What human beings? I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see, how Kalen kind of picks it up, going forward.
Excited.
He has some really good ones though, man. He's had
those relationships
Penix.
too in the transfer portal era matter more than ever.
Oh yes,
more than ever.
Yes,
we've learned that from Steve Sarkisian on the Texas side. How many guys we were their second choice, and then a year later or 2 years later,
great point,
we're able to, because the relationship was never broken. And
Sark's a great relationship builder.
Yeah, Sark's like, I don't burn bridges.
No, he doesn't. Hey, look at Worthy. Texas was not his second choice, but Sark was his second choice. And so that's when you get those relationships in there, man. And you're able to, hey, things ain't going right. Come on down. All right, Ty, see you, brother.
Later, guys. I'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, man. And so, that's when you forge those bonds, man. And he ends up getting Worthy and then Worthy's Worthy, right? Breaks the 40-yard dash record in the combine, and we're going to see where he gets drafted this year. But it's all about relationships, man. All about relationships. What you laughing at, man? What you laughing at, Chris?
I'm not laughing at nothing, Me and Steven had a great podcast the other day.
We did.
Basketball podcast, So I'm on good terms with Texas guys right now, so I'm gonna leave it there. I'll keep my comments to myself until the fall.
He had South Carolina going to the Final Four, so that one didn't shake out for the men's. But you were correct on the women's side, but for the men's, I thought you were out of pocket then, brother. But you know what?
Hey! I picked Texas right though.
NC State made it.
Yeah, NC State. You were very impressive.
You did technically. You had somebody in that region. You just had the wrong Carolina.
Oh, you had the wrong. Yeah, that's all good, man.
If you would have looked like a genius if you had taken NC State.
Where's Oklahoma at?
I would have.
Where's Oklahoma at? They make it?
We ain't even talking about Oklahoma right now. We're trying to fill the team.
We're trying to fill the team. Can we touch on that for a second before we tie off? So McCollum's in the portal.
Suarez is gone. Usman is in the portal. Usman is in the portal. Hooley is in the portal.
Is Oweh in the portal too?
Yeah.
You guys got 4 players in the portal on basketball?
No. Look, okay, so you got Usman, you got McCollum, you got Hughley, you forgetting about, and then you also got Oweh.
Always in the portal.
Yeah, so that is 4. Yeah, and then Suarez is. I think Suarez is gone as a senior.
Is this by design? What's going on? Why is everybody in the portal?
I mean, if you let the little birdies around town tell you what's going on, is that a lot of people wasn't really gelling with the head ball coach. But I really don't know. Can't really confirm too much. It's just the fact that seems that it's just blowing up, and I think that. I like Porter Moser. I really like Porter Moser. I think Porter Moser's a good coach. I think he's a really good coach.
I agree.
It just hasn't worked.
Coach. He is.
He just hasn't worked out here at OU. And now, to put it in my uncle's terms, the fact that you're on year 4 and basically having to start from scratch again.
Yeah.
He's a Midwest coach. He needs to be in that Illinois, Chicago area. I don't think it's gonna work long term at OU because
that's the Shaka Smart, man. I was happy to see him go as far as he can go this year.
It's just not your that's
my Shaka had a team, man. It just match us. But no, I mean what you're saying though, Steven, is it's true. I mean, I just think that this has been a bad marriage, and I think eventually it's going to force Castiglione to do something that he doesn't normally do, and that's fire a coach, and find a new. I mean, and to be honest with you, to be quite frank with you, our coach is sitting on the bench over there at Houston. They should have hired Kellen Sampson to begin with. I know that it would been his first time, but I think that he's ready for that job. And I also think that his connections to Houston alone could change this program, could help this program get back to kind of some of that national notoriety that they've had here in spurts. But it's just, I think that's the guy that I would want to see be in a job. But I mean, I'm gonna give Porter one more chance. Obviously, he got some one more chance, but it's tough, man. It's definitely tough because he's in year 4, having to basically start over
again.
again
One
for
thing
the
I will say
fourth
about
time.
OU, with their coaches, they are not afraid to go out and get a guy who has never been a head coach. You guys did it with Stoops, Lincoln Riley, now BV. It's getting ahead of the curve as far as coaching talent. A lot of NFL teams won't even do it, right? I look at my Cowboys, and I see my Cowboys. We kind of like, huh?
They never do it. They'll never put.
Nope.
Probably be a first time.
They never do it. They just retread old names, right? But you see a guy like Sean McVay come out and be young and do great things, and a Shanahan and the guy down in Miami. Like, those are innovative guys that do outstanding things. But Jerry Jones is so against being innovative, and he wants to retread common names that he's used to. Oklahoma is, I will give you guys a credit. You guys ain't afraid to step it on that ledge and go get somebody who you might think is an up and comer, or who might not have the experience but has the knack to do what you want him to do in the conference.
And you see, well, I mean, she had experience because she was at Drake, but you see the basically the benefits that came from the hire of the women's head coach. And OU's women basketball was all but dead for a while, and now look at it, back to back Big 12 conference champions, going pretty far in the tournament as well, the NCAA tournament. So I mean, you're looking at the revitalization of that program, but this men's program right now, I'm not going to say that it's down in the dumps. You're not down in the dumps when you get 20 wins. It doesn't matter how the season went. You got 20 wins. I'll give Porter that.
And the
I mean,
Big
this
12
was
the Big 12's tough, man. It's a gauntlet.
And Big 12's tough. Yeah, I mean, the Big 12's tough, but just I mean, it's just one of those things where you get those guys, your key guys, are transferring. If you lose Jalen Moore, I mean, it's all but. I mean, you might as well go ahead and write this season off as a tax write-off because it's not going to be anything else. I'm just being honest with you. I don't know. I'm being brutally honest.
I do want to touch on Texas real quick before we bounce from a basketball perspective, because we were in that boat last year and it was really frustrating because I felt like it ended up costing us Ron Holland coming into Texas and having that prep talent to go along with the veterans, because guys thought they were NBA ready and all this type of stuff, and ended up learning the truth and coming back to school. So you can get guys back out of the portal. We had some guys in there too that ended up reworking itself back. But Chris, I told you we were a Jekyll Hyde basketball team. I'm not mad now that I've had some time to breathe. I'm really not mad. Like, I'm glad that we won the game we were supposed to win.
Yeah.
Right. We were supposed to win our first round game. RT got that done. Hey, we had a chance to beat Tennessee right there, right? Down two.
We played horrible and still
we played really bad basketball, man. We turned the basketball over.
18 turnovers, right?
Yeah, just
Rick Barnes, baby.
We could not inbound the basketball for whatever reason. So
it was bad,
but I told you that was Texas hoops. But there's a new day coming, because Trey Johnson last night in the McDonald's All-American game bet the best prep score. When I say prep, I'm talking about high school level prep score coming to Texas since Kevin Durant was on campus.
Let me ask you this question.
And I'm excited.
Is Hunter gone? I'm sorry. My fault.
No, what did you say? You said, is Hunter gone?
Yeah.
As of right now, he has not made a decision on anything. He can come back.
Yeah, he coming back.
Is Dylan Mitchell going anywhere, or is he staying?
He hadn't made a
Same
decision yet
boat.
either.
I told you
I know who is
he's your
coming
best
back.
NBA
He should come
prospect.
back.
He needs to come back, but he's your best NBA prospect. Daisu is he gone?
He's gone. He's gone, right? He had no eligibility, right?
That
Yeah.
hurts.
Cunningham, Dylan
Cunningham's
DeSue.
coming back, isn't he?
No. He's
Oh, it's
he's
April
out of-
Fool's. That's April Fool's.
Yeah,
That's
he's
right.
out
That's
of
April Fool's
eligibility.
yesterday. He did. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so Cunningham, Dylan DeSue, Max Abesness, IT
Yeah.
Horton, those guys are out of eligibility.
Y'all
Yeah, that's
basically
true.
started from scratch too, bro.
And then no, not really. Chris Johnson hit the portal, who's our freshman last year. But
Uh-huh.
we have a bigger prep class coming in. We have Nick Cody coming in.
Okay.
Trey John, like we have some real actual prep talent coming in.
Dude, we could use
Chendall
Hollis
Weaver's
this
going to be
year.
a leader on this
Hey, do
team.
you want to hear a hot take on him?
Who?
On Weaver?
You want to hear a hot take? I got a hot take. And OU fans are going to eat me up about this, but I'm going to say this right here. I think Kendall Weaver could be a 16 to 18 point scorer next year. I think that if he
He's gonna have to develop
takes
his
the
jump
proper
shot.
if he takes the steps this summer, you can get a jump shot in the summer. If he works
You
on
can.
this mid-range game,
Yeah.
especially with how active he is and how he can play both ends of the floor
He's a dog.
at that pace, there's no reason why he couldn't average 15 to 18 points a game.
Hey, Weaver's
I'm being real.
I
with you,
love
man.
Weaver's heart, man. Dude, if
Competes.
you had a team, 12, 15 people with that effort every play, you don't
Yeah.
even need to have the most talented team. You're going to out hustle so many teams. I love his game, man. He's
Like I
probably my
said,
favorite
hey,
guy on the team.
My hot take, I think that I'm gonna lower it because I think 18 is a lofty goal. I would say somewhere between I would say 15 points per game. He should average at least 15.
But he's such a defensive guy,
That's
though,
my
right?
thing. That's my
He
thing.
reminds
My value
me-
is on the defensive
Yeah.
side. And
Steven,
if
he
his
he's
reminds
value's on the
me-
defense, but why can't he make that next step? Why can't he
Because
take that
most
next
guys
step
don't.
and be that guy?
And then he's gonna
Let's just be honest.
expend so much energy on defense. He reminds me of a guy like a Royale Ivy that was a defensive juggernaut and specialized guy when he was at Texas, and he carved out a nice little niche in the NBA for a while.
He's
Just
got to
off
be a
defense.
3-and-D guy if he's going to be out there on the court next year. He
Yeah.
can't just
That's
be
true.
that.
What's his
energizer
3-point
bunny.
percentage, man? I didn't get a chance
It
to
was
see.
really poor this year.
Was
and
it?
It was.
it's-
He wasn't looking for a shot.
Well, he didn't shoot it. He didn't shoot with confidence, and he has an inconsistent. He has inconsistent mechanics. It can improve. The thing with Weaver, his percentage at UTA wasn't bad, but when he got to Texas, he didn't shoot the three well, and then eventually he stopped taking the threes and would put the ball on the floor and go to the cup.
Yeah, let me.
They've got it. He's got to develop that element. If he just gets to a serviceable level from a 3-point shooting standpoint, I'm cool with that because that opens up the floor for everything else. Trey Johnson's going to be your scorer anyway. That's going to be the guy that's going to come in and take Abe Smith's looks.
Hell no.
He was 23.7% from 3-point this year.
No,
44. No, 40 the year before. But
Terry is gonna go out there and get a bunch of kids from the portal. He is too dependent on his veteran guys. I haven't seen him really put that much stock into any young guys. He will give you the green light.
He's only been the coach for a year and a half. Number one, and we did build out for the portal team we had that Chris Beard put together. That was built for that year. That prep class that Terry had with AJ Johnson and Ron Holland, they were going to build around Ron Holland.
And
Trust
Ron
me
bolted.
on that. If he had come to Texas,
yeah,
Terry had to pivot when those dudes went to one went to the NBL, the other one went to the G League. By the way, for those who are listening, G League Ignite, that's toast.
It's toast.
So you don't
now.
have to worry about kids hopping over there after they're already signed with your school and people flirting with them. So that's fine. But we haven't. The reason why you haven't seen that is because Rodney Terry hasn't even gotten a chance to work with a kid like this. Trey Johnson is one of the top 5 players in the class, and he's probably the best pure scorer in the class. But you see this at Baylor with like a Jacoby Walter. Every year, Baylor's had a phenomenal freshman guard. Keontae George the year before. We just have not had that level of player.
But
now we do.
And Baylor's
So he's
also
going to
had
have to build around Trey Johnson. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it.
Yeah.
If you can't work with Trey Johnson, then then you can't be my coach. Like, period. That's just
well, I don't know, because I don't know how many years he signed his contract for, but is Terry is he on the hot seat if he has another up and down season like he did this year?
If it's like this year, yes. But his roster, the problem he had last year, again, was the guys that jumped to the NBA that were not supposed to. And he had no team for like 2 months.
It's true.
It was like Brock Cunningham and the walk-ons.
Max was like found money at the end.
Max was found money at the end.
At the end, man. It was he was dealt a bad hand with both his top recruits leaving. It's crazy. You know,
they have a base now to start from.
Yeah.
Weaver, Cedric, there's guys there on that roster right now that at least have played.
And then you throw in a Trey Johnson in there and Cam in there too as well.
3 really good high school, 3 guys that should play.
Yeah.
Now I can be way more strategic in the portal if I'm Rodney Terry. He got to the point in the portal, Nino can correct me if I'm wrong, where we couldn't say no to people.
Yeah.
Because we needed the bodies.
We need the bodies, bro. This dude, so you think about the class right here, man. He's got 3 national top 50 players coming in next year, so you're looking at that happening, plus the talent that he has on the team already. Like you said, he's got to go get some guys in the portal. What does Mitchell do? Does he come back for another year? I think probably should, right? And if that happens, you're looking
Nick,
at what's up?
Nick, I told Steven, I said, yeah, he's the T-Move version of Kelly Oubre. I said he's a knockoff Kelly Oubre.
You want to talk about somebody
he won't
with a
shoot,
jump shot.
he won't do anything. Look, when it comes to basketball, if y'all want to hear somebody critical and really break that game down, come listen to me, because I will tell you, when I watch him, I'm like, dude, you're the best NBA. You're the NBA prospect on this team. You're the best NBA prospect that Texas has. But you don't play like it. You don't have a motor. You're good in spurts. You're not consistent. You don't look for your shot. You don't do any of those things. And they run a lot. They run sets where you can get a lot of easy buckets just off of athleticism,
brother.
But the motor is not there.
How can we continue to say that somebody? And I'm not trying to, because he improved a lot this year. Because his freshman year he was not playable to me.
Yeah.
So he went to, hey, a guy that can get us 8 to 10 rebounds. He guarded really well. Because he was way more aggressive in transition. He was aggressive on the offensive rebounding and putbacks. But you're not an NBA player to me if I pass you the ball 10 feet away from the basket and you can't do anything. That's unacceptable. You can't play at the next level if you don't even have a floater, a jump hook, or any type of fall. And now he started to develop like a little fall away jumper. Yeah. That needs to be something where you just automatically go to it if you're that type of player. Yeah. Like, there's no excuse, really. At this
he's
level
like, I mean, you can even call him a poor man's version of Josh Smith. He just can't shoot. He's not a willing shooter. He doesn't do like Steven. That's what I'm trying to say. Like for Kendall Carter, or Weaver, if I'm the head coach of Texas, right? And God forbid, I know y'all don't want that, but if I'm the head coach of Texas basketball team, I'm telling you now, you're on my you're one of my coaches, and me and you are in a meeting. Me, you, and Nick are in a meeting. I'm telling you right now, Kendall Weaver ain't touching the damn court if he can't be a 3-and-D guy. And I mean, he's got to be shooting somewhere between 36 and 40% from the 3-point line. I expect that. Mitchell might as well transfer because he's not. I'm not Kansas. I'm not running some offense that's going to make him obsolete. I'm running stuff through him. I'm running sets for him. I'm giving him opportunities. If I give him the ball 10 times a game, Chris, I need him to score at least 8. I'm just being honest, man.
I'm with you. These brothers know their deficiencies. We can do that. I know we gotta go, but
yeah, you know what I'm saying? I gotta go too. But one thing I will say, we got to stop putting it on these kids to where they're supposed to come to school, and then after 1 year, you're supposed to go to the league. Sometimes it takes other players a little bit longer to develop
That's
than it
true.
would,
There's
you know.
nothing
So
wrong with
maybe
that.
maybe his third year is this year, right? You know, just so we'll see, we'll see. We are in a very microwave, you know, atmosphere now where
Look at
you
the
want to
Final
put a kid in
Four.
there for 1 year and say go to the league and be done, and it is what it is. But hopefully next year it'll be better. But it's been an hour and a half, so it's
Yeah, let's
8:40.
go ahead and go.
All right, man. Appreciate it. I'll see y'all next week.